Hola amigos de Crea la TV, yo soy Monse Macías y el día de hoy me encuentro con la autora del libro Mucho más que un club de chicas, Elizabeth Eulberg. Elizabeth, ¿cómo te sientes de estar en la fila este año?
Muy bien. I have heard from my Mexican readers for years now. They've always been so enthusiastic and they've always kept saying, "When are you coming?" And I've always wanted to go, so I cannot wait to meet them. I'm very excited.
Oye Elizabeth, platícame un poco sobre este libro. Es la segunda parte de El Club de los Corazones Solitarios. ¿Cómo fue que nació la idea de continuar lo que es el libro, bueno, el libro pasado?
When I finished Lonely Hearts Club originally, I always knew that I wanted to continue the story because while the first book is very much about focusing on friends and being happy with who you are before you find a boyfriend, I thought about, well, once you do find someone, how do you make time for them? Because people, especially young people, are so busy with with school and work and family and friends, and it's all about how do you balance finding time for another person in your life. And I knew that Penny would have a harder time than most, so I kind of wanted to see where she would go with that.
De hecho, en esta segunda parte, Penny Lane empieza a tener conflictos porque tiene a su novio, tiene a Ryan, y, y no sabe qué hacer, se siente muy incómoda ante la presencia de él con sus amigas, porque al ella ser la fundadora del Club de Corazones Solitarios, ella se siente con la responsabilidad de seguir como con la imagen de la fundadora, como yo soltera, con mis amigas, y me parece muy interesante cómo haces, cómo Penny empieza a tener mucho conflicto con sus amigas, que no sabe qué hacer, no sabe cómo equilibrar los tiempos. Si festejar el día de San Valentín con ellas o con Ryan, su cumpleaños con Ryan o con sus amigas al rato. Entonces es muy divertido ver el conflicto o cómo juegas con esto de las amistades con la familia de Penny Lane, que es todo un show, con su fanatismo por los Beatles, y con Ryan, que no sabe qué hacer.
It worked out really well that the first book took place at the end of the year. And so when I was mapping out the second book, that I knew that her birthday was going to come, Valentine's Day was going to come, and those are two very big moments in someone's life where the club already decided that big moments they're going to share together. And so I knew she was being conflicted, and a gift that I gave myself, not knowing it. In the first book, I just mentioned, and I don't know why I did it at the time, just mentioned that her sister was going to get married. So when I read through the first book again, I was like, oh, I get to have a wedding too. So just looking at all of the moments where she would have to make decisions and maybe not the right ones. And, I do have to say that I felt very bad for Ryan when I wrote this. And I knew when I was writing it that there were times where readers were not going to be happy with Penny's decisions. There were times I was mad at her. There was one instance I was crying and I was just so mad at her, even though I know I could have changed her. I know that I'm in power to do that, but I felt that she needed to make mistakes because we all make mistakes and she's not perfect. But I did also like that there was a lot of time for humor, especially the birthday was one of my favorite scenes with all of the Beatles. I really had fun doing that. And the wedding as well.
Oye, Elizabeth, ¿cómo fue el que nace la idea de crear el primer libro, que fue El Club de los Corazones Solitarios? ¿Cómo fue que nace la idea o de dónde salió el hecho de que sus papás o su familia estuviera tan aficionada a los Beatles? ¿A ti te gustan? ¿Cómo surgió todo eso para crear el primer libro y todo el concepto de El Club de los Corazones Solitarios?
I was out one night with a friend years ago, and she was that girl, and I feel like we all know that person. We might have been that person at some point, but she's the girl who ignores her friends as soon as she gets a boyfriend. So I was with her, and she was ignoring me because the guy was talking to her, and I was like, this is stupid. I have all these amazing single girlfriends. We should go out every Saturday night and just celebrate being single. And then all of a sudden, I thought that would be a really good idea for a book because I had at that point thought of some ideas that didn't really work, but I was excited about this. And that night, because, I was being ignored, I just thought, well, I want the club, this girls' club, and for high school, like to have a really good, fun name. And the Lonely Hearts Club just came to me right away because I love the Beatles. And it was just going to be the name of the club originally. But as I started working on the book and writing it and struggling, I originally, very early stages, was going to have it be 4 girls in the club. And there were going to be Paula, Georgette, yeah. And when I got to Ringo, I was like, how do I do like a female, like I couldn't do Ringa, you know? And I thought, well, I could do like Rita. And then all of a sudden, because there's the Beatles song Lovely Rita, I thought, or I could have it be one girl. Yeah, and I could have it be a girl whose parents are huge Beatles fan. Her name will be Penny Lane Bloom. Penny Lane, and then and it kind of went from there, that like if a parent's going to call their child, her name's not Penny. Her name's Penny Lane. Her parents, I'm pretty sure, never actually refer to her as Penny. They always refer to her as Penny Lane. And so I just kind of built it from there. And I do love the Beatles, and so only listened to the Beatles when I was writing Penny's books. So anytime a certain Beatles song comes on now, it'll remind me of a scene or Penny. And if I'm writing something else and a Beatles song comes on, I have to skip it because Penny's voice will come into my head. So she and I are very connected through the Beatles.
¿Planeas continuar con esta serie de libros, o sea, con la historia de Penny Lane?
I don't think so. I will say that when I wrote this book, I do something where I think if I was to continue, it wouldn't be Penny telling the story anymore. I kind of set it up for someone else to take over if I do, because I feel at this point, and I think some readers would agree, that I put Penny and Ryan through too much. And so I feel like her story is kind of come to a close. I don't necessarily think the club or other characters have, but I always get requests for sequels to books, and with this, I had to make them go through some tough times, because as much as readers think they want to read 300 pages of everything great, it's actually not that fun for readers. It's just not. So, it's in the back of my mind, but I am already under contract for 4 other books, so it's not something I can think about until those are done. But who knows, maybe. I know that my Spanish language readers really want a third. I just have to convince my American readers that they want one too. Well, Americans.
Entonces, después de estos 4 libros, entonces planeas seguir escribiendo. ¿Qué es lo que sigue para Elizabeth después de mucho más que un club de chicas? ¿Qué es lo que sigue para ti? ¿Qué piensas seguir haciendo, seguir escribiendo? A lo mejor que el libro se vuelva una película. ¿Qué te gustaría que pasara o qué quieres hacer después de este libro?
I'm going to always write, I think. I have 3 books in a younger series for ages like 8 to 12, but I think older people can read it as well, called The Great Shelby Holmes, which is a retelling of Sherlock Holmes, and then reimagining of it with a 9-year-old girl detective, and then my next young adult book, so books for Hovens as well. But I continue writing. I have other ideas. I have 2 other ideas that I'm working on right now past that. And I would love to see any of my books turned into movies. It's not really, up to me. There needs to be a movie studio or producer who wants to do it. But the first book was optioned for a movie when it first came out, and nothing ended up happening with that. But that doesn't mean that it couldn't eventually. I do have a book that is being considered right now for a movie, but I don't know if it'll happen. And it's so hard because I'm not allowed to talk about it. But maybe someday it would be very fun to see a book of mine turn into a movie or a TV show. But it's also scary because we have no control, and they can do whatever they want with it, which is exciting to see someone else's interpretation of your work, but also, they can do whatever they want. But I would like to see them try.
Muchísimas gracias, Elizabeth, por esta pequeña entrevista, por estar con nosotros, con los chavos de Créala. Esperamos seguir leyéndote, seguir conociendo más sobre tus historias, y esperamos que vuelvas a la FIL un próximo año o los años siguientes y podemos tenerte de nuevo a cuenta aquí.
I hope so. Espero? Yes. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, chavos de Créala, y seguimos aquí.